like to use this recording to show you how to use Statcrunch software to solve problems in Chapter 9. I'm going to click on the Chapter 9 homework. It's giving me a prerequisite warning since I didn't do the Chapter 8 home quiz, but as a teacher I can get around that. As a student you cannot, other than texting me and saying help. Okay, so we have 24 questions. I'm going to click on question 1. In the largest clinical trial ever conducted, 401,974 children were assigned. This one's asking me some questions, but it's not asking me to actually complete a hypothesis test. Let me go on to question 2. Well, question 2 is asking me to complete a hypothesis test, but it's given me a z-score and a p-value, so I can go ahead and make my conclusions. So let me skip that one. Go to question 3. Question 3 also gives me a z-score and the p-value, as well as the upper bound on a 95% confidence interval. So that's not going to be what I want to do either. Let's look at question 4. All right, question 4. Question, okay, this is good. Question 4. 288 people, 77 dream in black and white. 292 people. In the second population, 15 dream in black and white. Use a 0.01 significance level to test the claim that the proportion of people over 55, or proportion 1, is greater than the proportion under 25, or proportion 2. So the null hypothesis would be that the proportion in population 1 is equal to the proportion in population 2. The alternative hypothesis would be the proportion in population 1 is greater than the proportion in population 2. So that is answer choice D. The Z statistic will be calculated from the data in the problem. So here's where we're going to go to Statcrunch. So I'm going to click on question help, Statcrunch. I'll let it open. Then we'll go to Stat. We're doing proportions, so I'm going to go to proportion stats. And I have 2 populations, so I'm going to go to 2 sample. I don't actually have the data, but I have a summary of the data. So I'm going to click on summary. All right, in the population 1, we had 77 out of 288 people that dreamed in black and white. And in population 2, we had 15 out of 292 people that dreamed in black and white. The hypothesis test is set up as P1 minus P2. So we said that P1 was equal to P2, which would make P1 minus P2 equal to 0. The alternative, we had that P1 is greater than P2. If we subtract P2 from both sides, we get P1 minus P2 is greater than 0. So I need to change my not equal to a greater than. Now the second part of this, it says confidence interval. That's an either or. We can either do a hypothesis test or a confidence interval. Since we need the test statistic, we're doing a hypothesis test. and then I'm going to have it compute. And if you'll notice, it gives me a z-statistic, or a test statistic, of 7.1192459. And it gives me a p-value that is less than 0.0001. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to the problem. Well, maybe I'm going to go back to the problem. Let's see. I need to shrink that to get back to my problem. There we go. So I can answer my z-statistic to 2 decimal places as 7.12, which is correct. The p-value to 3 decimal places is 0.000, and that is also correct. Now, since the p is so low, the null must go. Right? The p-value is less than my alpha value. My alpha was 0.01 in this problem. Therefore, the null must go. So we reject the null hypothesis. And since we are rejecting the null, that means we are embracing the claim, which was our alternative hypothesis. So the p-value is less than the significance level. So we reject the null hypothesis, which means that we embrace, or we do have evidence to support the claim, since the claim was our alternative hypothesis. And I hope that that helps you get a little introduction to StatCrunch with 2 samples.